Hello, this is Paul Chek, and welcome to Spirituality or 10 Commandments You Choose, Lesson 11. Today we're going to look at the seventh commandment of the Christian, atheist, and Native American Indian philosophies. We will call them philosophies because they're not all religions. So let's move forward. The first thing we're going to do is look at our comparison model. As I've stated earlier, I draw this model from the teachings of Osho and have expanded it to include unconditional love. The model goes as follows. Unconditional love is exemplified by the O in love. The O in love is neutral and is synonymous with consciousness, not consciousness of, pure consciousness, soul, or God with capital letters. Something that's unconditional love cannot be a thing. It cannot be known as. So in psychological terms, this would be subjective or subject, and things that are created, products of mind, vibration, anything that can be known would be objective. So consciousness is purely subjective. Consciousness of is a subject-object relationship. The object relationship is a product of mind, which occurs as a vibrational reality. All things in the created universe are products of vibration. If we look at our little diagram above, I use this because it's a symbol of mind, but it also depicts a storm, a tornado. The further you get from the eye of the storm, the more turbulent things are. We're all born by an act of sex, and the process of birthing itself can be violent, and the process of coming to learn to manage a body in relationship to person, places, and things can be violent. Kids hurt themselves, drink poison, touch fire, burn themselves, and this process can happen throughout a person's life. The point at which we learn to love ourselves more effectively is when we start identifying what the conditions are that we need in order to feel safe and secure. Once we start identifying conditions, then we move into the next level, which is less turbulent, as depicted by the arrow you see here. Here we are clear what we need in relationship to other. Whenever we're clear about our needs in a relationship to others, we are less likely to experience the turbulence that are so common over here as depicted by the fighter jet, which is a symbol of defending your needs, not necessarily with respect for other people's needs. Finally, as we mature and we gain enough life experience, we come to empathetic and compassionate love, which is love with consideration for the needs of the whole, the family, the group, society, the world, creation at large. I use the Dalai Lama as an exemplification of that because I believe as a living human being, he's a great teacher for all of us. So with those kind of barriers or ideas in place, so we have some model of comparison, we can now move forward with the seventh of the atheist, Native American, and Christian commandments. The Christian commandment number 7 is, you shall not commit adultery. Now remembering these commandments are supposed to be the dictates of God by way of Moses. You shall not commit adultery. Adultery, for those of you that are not familiar with the word, means to have intimate relationships with somebody else's spouse. You shall not commit adultery is to state a condition. I would like to take a moment just to look at the nature of the need for the commandment in the first place. First of all, anybody that's committing adultery has a need. In the philosophy that I teach, all judgments are unmet needs. So if somebody is being accused of committing adultery, the first thing we should do is ask them what their unmet need is. If somebody is truly loving, then loving is loving. And if we look at this commandment, it's making an assumption that everybody is in a monogamous relationship. But the reality of it is, prior to the advent of modern religion, most tribal societies were polygamous because they found that monogamous relationships were dangerous to the tribe. I would encourage anyone, for example, to read the book Voices of the First Day, and in there you will see a very beautiful expose of the Aboriginal people's philosophy on intimacy, marriage, sexuality, and it gives a fantastic overview of what happens when wise elders are in charge of teaching people about intimacy. And you will also see good reason for their structure with regard to marriage. So you shall not commit adultery is a dictate that hinges upon the idea that there is ownership in marriage. Wherever there is ownership in a relationship, the other has been objectified. They have been made into an object to be controlled. Human beings are the most uncontrollable creatures we know of. That's easy to see. All you got to do is look around. If somebody feels controlled, it is the nature of the ego to re-establish their own sense of autonomy. I've been coaching people for 25 years. Many of my coaching sessions hovered around the issue of adultery. In almost every single one of those cases, it boils down to not being able to communicate effectively with regard to what each individual's needs are. So the reality of it is, anytime we're giving love, if it's truly love, then there should be no reason for concern as long as we're having open communication and everybody's on the same page. So you shall not commit adultery cannot really be classified as sex and violence, conditional, or empathy and compassion until we know the needs of both parties. And an open marriage is not one where this is a concern. There is usually a relationship in which there are clearly stated morals and ethics with regard to how the relationship should run. The atheist's seventh commandment is test all things, always check your ideas against the facts, and be ready to discard even a cherished belief if it does not conform to them. That's a great commandment. I would also challenge that commandment, check your ideas against the facts. Well, all you got to do is look at the research in any branch of science, astronomy, physics, quantum physics, electronics. The so-called facts change constantly. What was believed to be true 100 years ago in the science of astronomy or cosmology in many ways is not true anymore. So it's important to remember that the facts are always changing to the degree that we change, to the degree that we're capable of looking beyond our own ideas. The facts keep changing. So that philosophy is fine, but it can lead one to be overly reliant upon facts, and facts themselves change. I'll leave you to judge whether that's sex and violence, conditional, empathy, and compassion. Native American Indian, seventh commandment, look after the well-being of mind and body. To me, that is empathy and compassion. We must first learn to love ourselves and cherish ourselves. We live and are conscious in our body. The body is your temple. To look after the well-being of mind and body is to create a healthy temple of worship. If you're in turmoil inside, if you're in battle inside, if you're in a state of disease inside, how can your view of the world be any different? Your brain lives in your blood, and your blood determines the health of your brain, and your brain determines the capacity for you to be in touch with truth or to think creatively, holistically, productively. So look after the well-being of mind and body, I would say, is the wise advice of elders and is based in empathy and compassion. And that's just my vote. What's yours? Thanks for joining me today. If you're interested in more of my products where I discuss these types of issues and many more, feel free to visit my websites, ppssuccess.com, checkinstitute.com, checkconnect.com, and my blog is paulchek.com. For those of you that have missed some of the opening clips, if you watch the first 3 clips, we get more into the preparatory stages for this. It may help you understand the viewpoints I'm taking here. Thanks for joining me. I look forward to sharing with you in the next clip. Bye-bye.